In other people's eyes, it's a feather. In his eyes, it is the key to escape from prison. First, place the feather in the ventilator to measure the wind direction, and then according to the smell of rain outside, he deduced that the roof was connected to the ventilation duct. But the cell was equipped with an X-ray camera. The police are watching him 28 hours a day. If there was any movement, the police would shout through the trumpet. If he didn't respond in time, the guards will be alerted instantly. They would come up and check the room themselves. Then there is a violent beating. But even with all this security, Jack still let find the loophole. In the process of the police to enter the cell, will pass through 3 security doors. Every time a door is opened, an alarm will sound. This is equivalent to directly tell Jack, let him hurry to hide a little. After a long time of observation, the mechanism of the entire prison Jack has completely understood. Now there is only one crucial question: how to avoid the surveillance of the cameras. When Jack went to the toilet, he overheard. The toilet below the camera is the dead center of surveillance. If you step on the toilet and make a hole along the roof, and then follow the ventilation pipe above, climb to the attic, this will give you a chance to escape. Now he needed a jailbreak tool. He asked a visiting family member to send. He sent himself a book. It looks fine on the surface. When the police checked it, Jack quickly ripped open the book cover. Inside, he took out a small saw blade. Now everything is ready but the action. But the noise of the saw blade is too loud. It is easy to attract the attention of other criminals. So Jack deliberately let the nearby inmates quarrel. This can cover up the noise and attract the attention of the police. While they were arguing, Jack got to work. Every second he tried his best. He was so tired that he was sweating profusely. Finally, he sought a way. But the new problem reappeared. This man tried to escape from prison, but just as he was sawing through the ceiling, there is a new problem. In order to cover up the traces of the crime, after each shower, Jack would take the leftover soap back to his cell, and then, in the right mix, to make latex paint from toothpaste and soap. The broken ceiling was perfectly restored. By doing this, Jack, every day, he did the same thing. Finally, the ceiling was sawed through. If nothing else, an accident will happen soon. Suddenly, the alarms sounded with great urgency. The police began to check the room. They were about to arrive at the cell. Jack couldn't be bothered to restore the ceiling. He quickly went to the door and blocked the view with his body. Fortunately, the police carelessly did not go in to check. However, just before he left, Jack then pushed open the ceiling, a jump into the pipe. But the strange thing is, there was not a single light inside the pipe. Jack was so disappointed. He had to return first and then make plans.
I was pretty much heartbroken that there didn't seem a way out from the ceiling cavity.
After a short rest, Jack replanned. Back to the ventilation duct again. Continue to crawl forward. After checking the surrounding area, Jack realized that this is not the real roof, so he removes a piece of iron from the ventilation fan. Use it to dig a hole. After a loud bang, the insulation of the prison was dug open. Follow the hole and keep going. Finally reached the security window of the prison. Jack was ecstatic to see the sunlight.
All that stood between me and freedom was some metal I could cut through in a few seconds with my blade.
It was just as he had thought. Now all he had to do was saw through the window, and now he could escape from the cell perfectly. What he didn't expect was, the police suddenly called for him, but he didn't get a single response. He felt that something was wrong. He hurriedly got up and went to the cell. By this time, Jack, who was in the midst of joy, still did not hear this. When the police entered the second door, Jack, only to return to consciousness, rushed back. The police were about to arrive at the cell. Finally, at the last second, Jack reappeared in front of the door. With his life on the line, he realized that the escape could not be delayed any longer. He had to act quickly. Jack put all of his supplies on the bed. Obviously not enough. But just then, the police suddenly brought in the laundered prison clothes. But the strange thing was, there were a few extra pieces of clothing. Jack was instantly surprised. Now the problem can finally be solved. This man is trying to escape from prison. To create the illusion of sleep, Jack took out many sponges, stuffed it into his dress pants to make a body support. Then he tied up the cookie box, make a fake head, then tie a chess piece to the top. That's how you make a dummy. Finally, tear the sheet into strips, tie them together, make a rope for escape. After everything is ready, I started to implement the plan, but avoiding the surveillance in the cell was the biggest problem at hand. After thinking about it, Jack had a plan. He taught his cellmate to fight. He succeeded in attracting the attention of the police. When he passed the first door, the alarm will be sounded. Jack wrapped the camera with a paper ball. Then he hid the dummy under the bed. When the police leave, he then takes out the dummy and throws it on the bed, so that the police can see through the surveillance. They will think that the dummy is Jack. Then he climbs down the pipe to the attic. He takes out a saw blade and starts to cut the window. After a few minutes, The hardened window is sawed open. Jack throws a rope from the window down the 888-meter tall building. All the way down, there was a car parked below. It's Jack's pickup, and this was planned a long time ago. A few days earlier, Jack realized that if there is no car, cannot run far, when the time will certainly be caught. At the same time, he learned from his cellmate there was an 18-year-old girl was being urged to marry, so he got the woman's phone number. He kept sugarcoating her every day. He also told the woman that he would be released from prison in a few days. I hope the woman will pick her up then. But when the woman saw Jack climbing down the 888-meter fence, she realized that she had been deceived. The so-called release was actually a prison break. Jack begged her to open the car door. The woman had been hesitant, but looking at Jack's handsome face, she decided to let him get in the car. Then she kicked the gas and took off. By the time the police realized that someone had escaped, it was already too late. They had already escaped from the area. Soon the police found out the identity of the woman. The information was released on the news, perhaps out of guilt. Jack decided to let the woman go, but told her not to tell him where she was. But when the woman returned home, she told the police everything in one fell swoop. The result was predictable. Jack was arrested and sent back to jail. This movie is based on true events. That's all for today's story. Thank you for your attention.